Hey, what's up? It's Thomas. Hope you're doing absolutely fantastic today. I'm so excited to give you a run through our brand new plugin, Nunchuck. This thing is absolutely wild and I can't wait to take you through the features and let you hear how it sounds. Hopefully by now you've already seen that amazing launch video featuring the also amazing Sam Bell, Kieran Johnston and Kyle Hughes on the drums. What a combination. So yeah, if you haven't seen that, definitely check it out. But without further ado, let's dive right in and check out Nunchuck. And the first thing you're going to notice when you plug your guitar into Nunchuck, albeit by your audio interfaces, it just feels and responds absolutely incredible. When you play a chord, you get that ooh, ah. It just takes me back to when I first started playing and plugging into amps and nothing else really mattered. You just, everything, plug in and everything else just disappears. And that's what Nunchuck does to you. It's an amazing experience, super fun. So hey, what we got here? We've got a few ways I can screen share. Yes, that's a positive start. So we have the amp itself and we have 4 distinctive flavors going on there. Now each flavor, it's like having a completely different amp. All the configurations, the voicing, the tubes, everything is unique to each channel. And that gives you a lot of combinations when you start experimenting with maybe stacking overdrive pedals in front of your cleans or in front of the modern channel. But let's just go through the channels for now. Obviously we can push that into some really, really cool saturation. Vintage channel. The HotRod has a little bit less gain as standard, but all 3 of our gain channels can absolutely do incredible high gain, face ripping savagery. We have 20 speaker chains and each one completely changes the overall feel and sound. So I'm going to go back to the vintage channel here and let's just try some of these the mods that's on the amp. Boost. Now you can hear there it's starting to get a little bit kind of like woolly. And that's where we can turn on tight to really tighten up that bottom end. The 4th switch on the bottom right here is the filter switch. And it's really good if you want to kind of calm down the splits or single coil brightness. So for example, it just kind of makes that tone just a little bit softer. And if you're using like chorus and it's in a mix, I like this sort of split sound a lot. So there might be other ways that we could adjust the top end with the presence or maybe with the speaker filters. So we just started to use the chorus there. Now chorus is one of the 3 modulation effects in multi-mod. Now the awesome thing about this is it's got a pre and post switch. So if we want to a big stereo flange, then we leave it on the post position. So if you wanted to put the modulation in front of your amp as if it was on a pedal board on the floor, you could do that. So here I have a button assigned to it. Let's try that with a phaser. Now the compressor has also been overhauled and it works really, really well now with gain. So you can use that to get a lot of extra sustain, smoothing out lead tones. But let's check out some of the drives. So starting off with Storm Drive, this thing can go absolutely wild and savage when you combine it with the modern channel. Such a really, really good drive at tightening up, great for leads, great for down tuning if you have a 7-string or an 8-string, or maybe using HyperTune and you've got wide on. Really like super cool for all of that stuff. Check out the Green Mamba. Now it has two different modes, an overdrive mode and the rat distortion mode. Next up is Metal Charlie. He's a bit of a wild lad. I love pairing Octaver with Metal Charlie. And because that Octaver is using HyperTune, you can play chords. If you go on a clean channel and you start playing very complex chords, it's going to be right there with you. So we have Kabamp, which has 3 different levels of heat, of drive, sheesh, hot, and spicy. So the cool thing about Kabamp is it's actually a amp on a box. So we have some presets where we actually use Kabamp as the actual amp. And it sounds really, really cool. So you can actually turn off the head and use Kabamp as your actual amp. And yeah, I think you'll enjoy that. It's a very different sort of flavor, but it's like having another amp with 3 different levels of heat. Jumping back to the first page, we have a wah-wah here. One of the quests that I was sort of interested in for a little while was finding out the frequencies that a lot of the EVH tones had from a mixing and mastering point of view. So some of the bands in Shape EQ have been really overhauled a lot and tweaked a lot. So for example, that 16K top end can be really cool at bringing out some of the frequencies that the mixing and mastering engineers would have been trying to bring out in some of Eddie's famous guitar tones, for example. And you'll hear those in the presets. You'll just find these EQs very, very easy to work with. Just super transparent when you're playing with this sort of amount and you hear it in a track with like a beat. It's really good at just kind of getting out of the way of the tone, but it just adds a lovely space around it. But this gets really interesting when you go onto the medium and long mode, because we actually add another reverb into the mix of a Plate 140, which is more like a classic tube amp spring reverb. You don't quite know like if it's a spring or a plate or a hall, but it's just a cool sound. And when you use some of the room speaker, one of the new modes that we have for delay is Primal. And I'll turn sync off and adjust the speed a little bit here, and maybe clean that up. So the cool thing about Primal is it's basically, again, it's like putting the pedal on your pedal board in front of your amp. So you get more of a retro sound, as opposed to stereo and wide and Pong, which is more of a sort of traditional studio way of putting your delay post amp in the mixer. Primal's a really cool way. I like to filter it and use it with ambience and maybe use a little bit of the ducking so it's there. And then when you stop playing, it kind of comes up. Now, speaking of like sort of clamping down and bringing things up after you stop playing, on the top section here, we actually added a mastering compressor, which is great for kind of squashing down things like reverbs and delays until you stop playing, and then it kind of expands outwards. So for example, let's turn on reverb. It's super transparent. It's really very kind of modern sounding, but it's got that classic sound too, like almost like a PCM Lexicon series reverb. It's a really nice balance. But if we really crank the time, and then we use some of that mastering compressor, what you'll hear is when I stop playing, the reverb will really swell. got that last high note by pulling down on the fretboard. Total fluke, but it kind of worked, and I'm gonna say it was intentional. Guys, I'm going to stop it there, otherwise I'll be here playing with those tones all day long. So Nunchuck, it's out now. Head to the PolyChromeDSP.com website, download the demo, take it for a spin for yourself, see what you think, let me know what you think, and I'll see you back here real soon. All right, take care.